The following podcast is recorded and produced by 𝗏𝗏𝗏, a media creators co-op, in affiliation with the network at 𝗏𝗏𝗏-radio.com.
Hoping that he has his fourth of the day right here.
Hey, Jeter! You done? You done?
Hello guys, welcome back to the Virtuosos. This is Damian here with a solo video for you today. 2024-2025 NFL season is just officially concluded. Wildcard weekend is upon us. And so, if you told me I was going to be making a video like this in September, I probably would have told you were crazy, that there was no way we'd be in this spot. But I'm here to talk about the Miami Dolphins and how disappointing of a team they put out on the football field this year was, and just what the future looks like at this point from a Dolphins fan's perspective. So, you know, as anybody that, you know, has been keeping up with us, or anybody that knows me knows, I have been a Dolphins fan my entire life. There's not been much to root about. They've been bad but the majority of my life. This is probably the most fun teams we've had, but that doesn't mean much when you still can't win a playoff game and you're missing the playoffs. Going into the 2022 season, obviously that was probably the most exciting time that I've had as a Dolphins fan in my life. We had just hired Mike McDaniel, this run game guru, this offensive genius from the San Francisco 49ers. You know, check your pulse.
I mean, check your pulse if you're not fired up.
You know, the big team videos and this and that. We're coming off of a controversial few years with Brian Flores where we did finish with winning seasons, but, you know, it was clear the team chemistry was not there. We didn't have any superstars. The offense struggled mightily, even with our top 5 pick and Tua Tagovailoa playing football. It just seemed to look like nothing could go right on the offensive side of the ball. The defense was amazing. Brian Flores knows what he's doing, and that's why he's flourishing in somewhere like the Minnesota Vikings as a defensive coordinator. But it just didn't seem like he could put it together as a head coach. So, you know, you jump to 2022, we hire Mike McDaniel, and in the same offseason, we trade for Tyreek Hill. We give up a lot for him, but you're trading for an all-pro wide receiver, the quickest player in the league, and it's exciting. You're pairing him with Jalen Waddle, another speed demon. You know, you get Raheem Mostert, you get, you know, Jeff Wilson in the middle of the season. You're making moves that almost kind of looks like, okay, maybe we're going to try to put a team out there that's competitive at the very least. And 2022 goes okay until we get, obviously, to week 4. Tua has the big comeback against the Ravens. Tyreek Hill goes off. It's the first big Tyreek Hill game. Jalen Waddle goes for over 100 yards as well. We beat the Buffalo Bills in Miami, which we have done once since Josh Allen's been there, which was that game. We still have not beat him since. And then Tua gets hurt. And this is kind of where the story starts for what the current Miami Dolphins have. Tua goes down with the scary head injury against the Bengals, misses multiple games after that, and we start to see the backup quarterback situation with the Miami Dolphins and where their biggest struggle has been. So Teddy Bridgewater has to step into this offense, does not run it as well as he probably should have, and we do end up playing well enough. Tua comes back, plays some more, then also gets hurt again. He suffers another injury at the end of the season against the Packers, another concussion, those 3 interceptions, and we do sneak into the playoffs, but with Skylar Thompson as our quarterback. And Skylar Thompson is not the topic of this video. He played okay against the Bills. We could have won the game. We were outplayed by the better team. So you go into 2023 now, and all the off seasons, our talk is Tua's bulking up. Tua is put on this weight. He's doing the judo training to avoid the concussions and keep himself healthy and stay on the football field, which Tua always had this issue of not being able to stay on the football field. It happened in Alabama. It happened his first couple years in the league. It happened during the Mike McDaniel era. It's always been a thing. He goes out there, week 1, lights up the Chargers.
Tagovailoa, hunt the block. Tua on the move, going deep, speed race. He's got Hill! He's got Hill! He beat James! What?
Everybody here that knows me knows I cannot stand the Chargers. I don't like Justin Herbert. It's always been a thing. And he goes out there and he outduels Justin Herbert, plays extremely well, 470 yards, 3 touchdowns, and Tyreek Hill has a monster game. And it looks like, okay, this is going to be the season where we once again put it together. This is going to be the Miami Dolphins year to play football and win something that matters. And it goes well for most of the season. Tua plays the entire season, but you start to see the cracks in the foundation very, very quickly when we play good teams. We can run up the score 30, 40, 50 points. We drop 70 on the Broncos. When we play these bad teams, it looks good, but when we play the good teams, you struggle. We beat the Broncos 70-0, or not 70-0, but 70 points regardless, 70-20, whatever it was. Come back the next week, and the Bills blow us out of the water in Buffalo, which is obviously eye-opening. I mean, it wasn't even close. We battled for the first quarter. Then Josh Allen plays probably what was the best game of his career. I think he had 5 touchdowns and only 3 incompletions, completely massacred us. And it's back to the drawing board. Go out there, beat up on a couple other bad teams, then you lose to the Eagles. Tua plays bad, Tyreek Hill has multiple drops, and we can't stop A.J. Brown, who completely destroys us.
Starts to wear you down. You want to jump up there and make a play. Pump fake. You've got Van Ginkel right in your face, and your quarterback proves once again.
Can't stop the tush push. And you play throughout that season, and then all of a sudden we're battling for first seed. Like we've played good enough against the bad teams to stay in the first seed discussion. Then you go, obviously, into the Chiefs game in Germany, lose to the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill has the fumble 6 right before half, 70-yard return. Tua throws one of the worst passes I've ever seen at the end of the game, completely short hops it on a 4th down. The game's over. There's nothing, who knows who to blame. You go later in the season, then the Titans game is obviously the big factor of what I'm talking about here, where you really start to see that this is not going to work for the Dolphins in the long run. We play the Titans at home. We go down, we come back, we go up 2 scores with 3 minutes left, and they come back to beat us. And this is with Will Levis playing quarterback. DeAndre Hopkins, we at this point already have Jalen Ramsey. We have Javon Holland, who's playing well. We have Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. We've made all these trades. We made all these moves, and we still somehow lose to the Titans. And now that leads us into having to play the Ravens and the Bills to end the season. We go into Baltimore and get absolutely demolished by 42-14, I believe the score was. We lose Bradley Chubb with a season-ending injury, and then Buffalo comes into Miami, and once again, even though we forced turnovers on Josh Allen, Buffalo beats us. We lose the first seed, not only to the Ravens, we lose the home field advantage in the playoffs and winning the AFC East against the Bills, and then we go and we get smoked by the Chiefs. So, summarize that. This leads us into this season, where immediately there's question marks going into it. Tua lost the weight, even though he played all 17 games last year and played well. He lost some weight, said he wanted to be more mobile. He didn't feel like the same quarterback when he put on the weight. So he loses the weight, and we paid Tua 4 years, $212 million. Obviously, that's a question mark around a lot of people's heads in the league. You're paying a guy who hasn't played a lot of football each year. He's averaging about 4 or 5 missed games a year at this point. And you're paying him $200 million to, be – he's never even thrown for 30 touchdowns in his career yet. So that should tell you something right there. And first game of the season, we struggle. We barely beat a Jaguars team who now has a top pick in the draft. And Tyreek Hill has his only good game. Obviously, there was a bunch of controversy. That was Tyreek Hill got detained before the game. There was a lot of, emotions were high, and we wanted to just go out there and try to win for Tyreek Hill, obviously. And then things start to fall apart as soon as week 2 hits. Tua goes and takes a nasty hit against Damar Hamlin, of all people, which is just funny. You can't write something like that. You just can't make it up. It's just how it happened. Tua goes down, is walked off the field, and for the first time that I've ever seen, put on IR with a concussion. I don't see players go on IR with concussions. I've never seen it. And I watch us struggle the next 4 games with Skylar Thompson and Tyler Huntley as our quarterbacks, averaging, as I've said in other videos, 11.6 points per game. And now you start to look and you're like, okay, well, why can't Mike McDaniel run this team with a backup quarterback? Why did we let Skylar Thompson and Tyler Huntley be our backup quarterbacks? Why didn't we go after a top guy and to try to help Tua when we know he's going to miss games? And we continue to struggle. Tua misses more than just the 4 games. I think he missed 5 or 6. And we finally get him back. And once we get him back, our defense flip-flops. And now our offense is scoring points again, cool, but our defense starts to flounder. And we cannot beat the good teams still. We're barely beating the bad teams at this point. And this leads us into, once again, now we go into a game where we need to win. This is a big game. We have to beat the Texans, where the Texans struggle against us. They don't play well, but Tua has his worst game of the season, throws 3 interceptions. Derek Stingley had Tyreek Hill in a prison cell, to say it lightly. And we lose on a game-winning interception by Derek Stingley, who he rips the ball completely out of Tyreek Hill's hands. And now the writing is on the wall. Okay, well, now we don't control our own destiny anymore. We're really in a bad spot after losing that game. And things just go downhill. Tua hurts his hip against the Texans, going for a first down. The same hip that he hurt in Alabama. They say it's not the same injury, but who knows? They don't tell you that kind of detail. They don't want to, at least. And now Tua goes into the Niners game. We beat the Niners, but that's on a big Devon Achane game. There's not really much on Tua. Tyreek Hill drops 2 touchdowns. And then out of nowhere, Tua's improbable, or Tua's doubtful to play against the Browns. Tyler Huntley goes out there. And now Tua misses the last 2 games of the season. So 2 games that we need our franchise quarterback, the guy we're paying $200 million for to play, is now missing. And it goes right back to the same thing we always said, the durability concerns. Can Tua stay on the football field and lead this team? You know, I watched this guy in the offseason say, show me the money, and to everybody at the practice field, and, you know, flaunt about how he got paid because he's good. And then when we need him most, he goes and misses. Now Tua misses the most games of his career. He misses 7 games this year, or 6. And now it's like, okay, well, we just paid you all this money and you came and stay on the football field. We go out there, we lose to the Jets. Not that we control their own destiny anyways, and that's how the season ends. But the big question now is Tyreek Hill pulls himself in the 4th quarter. And, you know, there's literally video evidence of Tyreek Hill walking off the field, Jalen Waddle asking, you know, are you done? Like, what are you doing? And we don't hear what Tyreek Hill has to say back, but then we see that Tyreek Hill completely sits out the 4th quarter. The end of the game, in the post-game presser, he says...
I mean, for me, like I said, man, I just got to do what's best for me and my family, dog. If that's here, or if that's wherever the case may be, man, I'm finna open that door for myself, dog. As I'm opening the door, like I'm out, bro. You know, so it was great playing here, but...
I mean, you thinking about leaving here?
If it is, hey, if...
that he's out, he has to do his best for him and for his family. He's too much of a competitor to stay to be on the field just doing nothing and this and that. And it's an emotional thing. I get it. You just got eliminated from the playoffs. We've missed the playoffs for the first time in the Mike McDaniel era. But what can the Dolphins do going forward now? You have questions everywhere at this point. Your offensive line that you laughed about in the preseason, saying that that the fans and the media are more worried about it than you are, when our offensive line has been the worst in the league for a long time. We have the worst ranked defense special teams in the league the last 3 years running. You will not fire Danny Crossman. You have the lowest retention of draft picks since 2016, with 16% of your draft picks still on your roster from then to now. That's a thing on Chris Grier. You're not hitting on your draft picks, and when you do, you're not doing anything to retain them. We lost 2 big guys in Wilkins and Robert Hunt before the season. Wilkins was hurt, unfortunately, but Robert Hunt played all 100% of his snaps for the Carolina Panthers, who seem to have found their franchise quarterback. And so now it's, what do the Dolphins do going forward? Do you keep Tyreek Hill? Can you afford to bring Tyreek Hill back and, you know, and forgive him for what he said and what he did? But how do you prove a point if you let somebody like Tyreek Hill do that? You're just going to let him walk all over you. You have to set a precedent that stuff like that won't be rewarded, that won't be forgiven. This is a team captain that pulled himself, and then after the game said that he has to do what's best for him and his family, and then he's out, that he's opening the door. So you have to do what's right, and you have to trade him. Listen, I was a big component of getting Tyreek Hill. I thought it was one of the best days as a Dolphins fan, getting a guy like Tyreek Hill, because I knew what he was going to bring to the team. It was going to help Tua. It was going to help the team out. But after what I saw, how could you respect a guy like that, a captain who quit on his team even when they knew that the game was over? I watched guys like Calais Campbell, who is a first ballot Hall of Famer, who is 38 years old, play the entire game, even though he knew that it was what the ending was. He was playing because he loved the game. But Tyreek Hill couldn't find a way to do it. And then on top of that, it's just, I don't understand there's so many question marks. Mike McDaniel, who at one point looked like an offensive genius, looks lost out there. He gets outcoached constantly, cannot win challenges, can't simplify his offense. We're one of the worst teams in the league when it comes to converting on 3rd and 4th and short. It's just too complicated, too many question marks on our offensive side of the ball. And now, I mean, the defense played well, but is Anthony Weaver going to stay? He's getting looked at for coaching positions. He's a leader. People want a guy like Anthony Weaver running their teams or coming to their team. And now we're kind of left in a spot where, what do we do? And that's really where the Dolphins are at right now. They have to make some big decisions. There was a lot of injuries again, and teams have injuries. You got to battle through that. And we're a team that just can't seem to get it done when their guys go down. They can't seem to overcome anything. And we can't still beat good teams. McDaniel's beat one team over 500 in 19 attempts. It's glaringly obvious. And I've said it before, and I've been, where we need a leader. Mike McDaniel's been a good coach, but he doesn't lead the way that I think a coach needs to lead. That coddling and being your friend thing was cool the first couple years because Tua needed it, because some of the guys needed it because of what the kind of coach that Brian Flores was. But now that doesn't work. Now you're starting to become a failure of a franchise because this team has not won a playoff game in 25 years. I'm 26. I've not seen I was not memorable enough to see a playoff game win by the Miami Dolphins, and that's just not acceptable as a fan to anybody. So I guess I kind of just leave you guys with that as to where I don't know where the Miami Dolphins go from here. This has been a failure of assets, a failure of a team build for how much money we've spent on guys, the kind of draft capital we had going into this rebuild. We started this rebuild in 2020 with the Tua draft, and now we're going into 2025, and we have nothing to show for it. The Texans have won a playoff game before we have, and we had all their picks. There are teams that were way behind us that are now way ahead of us, and it just kind of shows you the incompetency that is the Miami Dolphins. So with that being said, I'm going to let you guys go. I appreciate you guys listening to my rant about how the Miami Dolphins continue to find their way to be an incompetent franchise, and I have no hopes right now of them turning it around until I see a major change. So with that, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for joining us. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.